Okay. No, wait. There I go.
Welcome to another episode of American Hammers TV. Please like and subscribe. And buy some scarves.
Okay, well, here we are. That's awesome. What's up, fellas? We got Chris here from who's residing in Erie, Pennsylvania, going to school there for grad school. He's originally from Ohio. And our special guest tonight is Anton from Irons United. What's going on, gentlemen?
Good, thank you.
Thanks. How about you?
Good.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Been waiting, man. I've been dying to have you on for a long time, actually. We've had Luke on a few times. We've had Stelios on, and
that's right, yeah.
And, I just wanted to, return the favor of having you on our show since you had me on yours back. I remember it was the Cardiff match that I predicted we were going to smash them.
Yeah,
and we lost.
Yeah.
So
were you not in a parking lot?
I was. I was at work. Yeah, on an extended break.
Yeah.
Extended lunch, and ever since then, because of that, actually, I ended up rethinking my strategy of score predictions, because Jesus, man, I thought we were going to destroy them, and no, it didn't work out so well. But the good thing is, I think it was maybe a few matches later. After that, I stopped making predictions. But near the end of the season, I said, you know what? If I pick us to lose, we'll win. So I picked us to lose against Tottenham, Southampton, and Watford, and you guys remember the results of those. So I'm going to continue to predict us to lose, I suppose, see how that works. But real quick, go ahead.
No, you go for it. No, you go for it.
All right, so we have a sponsor. It's called drinkwaredesign.com. They make custom mugs. They have our logo on it. These mugs are actually really fancy and smooth and sturdy and whatnot, but they're beautiful. They do a great job. But they also make custom flasks. They engrave stuff on those sports bottles and really cool stuff. So their website is drinkwaredesign.com. There is a link in the description. But this is a special Monday episode. I'm really excited to have both a new co-host, which is kind of cool. We like changing things up a bit, and really excited to get going with you, Anton. So our first question, usually with everybody that we have on as an interview, is how on earth did you get into following West
Ham? For me, you probably can tell with my accent, it's not from East London. So I was born and bred in Scotland to a English Cockney Londoner dad who brought his business from East Ham all the way up to Scotland. He had 3 children in Barking and then 3 children in Scotland. So my dad was a very fortunate West Ham fan. He witnessed West Ham live win the World Cup, the 3 FA Cups and the European Cup, which he consistently reminds me of. And yeah, I had no real choice, to be honest. I don't remember my dad forcing me. It was never to do with being forced. I don't know if he just had subliminal messages sitting around the house, claret and blue colours. I found a picture of me when I was a kid. I must have been no older than 3, wearing the 1986 top. And it's just grown arms and legs, and it just become it's just passionate. It's just, do you know what? It's funny. We go on as fans about the brand, and it's the brand that we fall in love with. It's West Ham. It's the colours. It's the logo. It's not really, we're not following West Ham to win things, because we don't win things. But if West Ham was a bloody netball team or a cricket team or a baseball team, I'd probably follow them because they're West Ham. I can't help it. It's in the blood. And like we all know, we've got blue veins and we bleed claret. So
that's right.
So yeah, that's my connection to West Ham. It's my dad, like I said, season ticket holder for 30 years before he moved up to Scotland. And now, fortunately, the older I've got, I'm able to take on a season ticket, and now I travel down to as many games as I possibly can.
Yeah, no, I like that, and we've heard that a couple times. We've heard a lot of people being born into it, not necessarily forced. It's just, it was like you said, around the house all the time. But not many people tend to mention, the whole branding aspect. But that's what it was for, I think, most everybody. You're right. I mean, it's the cross hammers is eye catching for certain people, and the color scheme is, that's what I love. I mean, I should see my friggin' house. I mean, yeah. I mean, my wife hates it, but you know, the wall in our bedroom is just covered in claret and blue everywhere. But
what dreams are made of.
exactly. You know, seriously, no. But
What wet dreams are made of.
that's right. It gets me going. You know. Yeah, it definitely helps. No. Yeah, man, but no, we've heard everything from, you know, it's definitely our favorite question to ask everybody. And, you know, whether it be American, Scotland, I mean, we've had people from, you know, Australia on the show. We've had people from, you know, all over the world, Brazil, the Brazil Hammers Brazil. Those guys are awesome too. And it's a very similar story across the board, one way or another. And certain people I've heard, you know, that was the only team that they got to see on TV or, which is bizarre. I don't know why West Ham was the one team, but I guess it was that they were always playing the bigger club. And you know, the Man U match, and then it just so happened to be playing, you know, West Ham. But yeah, for us, it seems to be similar. Now, what's Chris? I mean, what was it for you?
Honestly, for me, I hated the sport growing up. I really did. Just bad experiences with it as a kid. I was more interested in golf, baseball, and basketball, and what really opened my eyes to it was I went to Spain my junior year of high school, and the locals actually introduced me to it a little bit. I still am in touch with quite a few of them. It was to the point too where I was about that close to going to a Real Madrid Champions League quarterfinals at the Bernabeu. And I learned everything through FIFA YouTube videos, like the video game FIFA. And two of the YouTubers I watched, my freshman year in college was the last season at the Bolin. And so they vlogged every home match, and I just fell in love with the club that way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. You know, people like, you know, Anton with Irons United and people like, you know, Nikki and Dan and all of them, Ryan over at West Ham Fan TV and the people at Hammer Chat. I mean, they definitely help us Americans and also just, you know, people in general. I know. I don't know what the atmosphere is like, or how do I put it? People in England, I don't know, you know, what it is that attracts them to, you know, these YouTube channels. I mean, obviously, I would assume that it's because, you know, you people. I mean, we're all real. You know, we're not. It's not like watching Match of the Day. You know, it's not like watching it on Sky Sports and these suits and ties and whatnot talking about West Ham. It's you know, real people, real supporters. You know, talking about West Ham. So that attracts us over here, you know, especially me, you know, sitting down watching, you know, you guys are watching post-match pint or watching, you know, cup of tea or whatever, you know, it's real people like us, you know, talking the club that we love. And it just gets us more and more involved and more and more, you know, falling in love with the club. And the club
almost.
Yes, exactly. And the club needs to start recognizing that though. And that's the one thing that we've mentioned on our show a couple times, that it doesn't feel like that quite yet. You know, and when our mission from when we started was to basically just showcase all the supporters groups here, and that evolved into showcasing all the fans that even if they're not involved in this, you know, supporters groups, you know, here, so that, you know, the club can see, hey, you know, we're unearthing all these people groups that we're here. We're massive. The United States is massive, and there's tons of West Ham supporters here. Yeah. So the club needs to recognize that, because all these other big clubs, which is what the Sullivan and Gold want, and Brady, they want West Ham to be. They keep saying we are, or they, you know, ever since the move. Well, the other big clubs, they treat their supporters, or, you know, over land and sea, like super well. Like really well. They're giving them stuff and you know, signed plaques for their supporters groups to hang up on the wall, signed jerseys, you know, stuff like that. They don't do that for us.
I think there's a you know, when we started the idea of coming up with Irons United, we were so far from being the first. It was a joke. There were so many groups. So I spoke to one of the original founders of Irons United and just said to him, funny story was, I actually met him at the Player Awards at the final year at Upton Park, and what a year that was, and what an award ceremony to go to. It was fantastic. You know, we're sitting around with the players. Slaven Bilic is behind me, drink a couple of bottles of red wine, and it's just that honestly, like, and fair play to the club for what they do. They blatantly tell the players to mingle with the fans, and as long as the fans don't take the piss, then They don't mind doing it. And I mean, you get up front and personal with Mark Noble, Payet, Lanzini, everyone that was there that time. Anyway, the point to this story was I met the guy at the table. We became quite good friends. We decided to start something a bit different. We just thought we'd do something a bit short, sharp, rather than longer. We felt like maybe some people's attention spans weren't into the whole longer videos or longer posts or longer features. So we thought, let's do a shorter version. But then that just grows arms and legs, as you are aware yourselves. And then you come up with idea after idea after idea.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I do want to say is that we have said, and we will continue to say from all along, that West Ham comes first. And when you do, and again, you might feel like this yourself sometimes, but when you do YouTube channels and you have your brand and you do this and you do that, you can get caught up in it so much that sometimes you forget the real reason why you're doing it. And I've always said that from day one to all the guys. The minute that anyone feels any form of pressure, the minute anyone goes to a game and watches a game and goes, I'm not enjoying it because I feel like I have to do a video, or I want to put a post out or whatever, is the minute that you need to really consider why you're doing this. Because first and foremost, the real reason is it's West Ham to me. And I'm not going to lie, back earlier in the summer, I had a bit of a flip out moment. I was like, do I really want to do this anymore? Do I want to continue it? Do I just want to continue my following for West Ham, my passion, my love? And I took a bit of a break, and it done me the world of good. Came back, and you know, you try and chase ex-pros, and you try and you know yourself, guys. You've had a few on yourselves. It's time, it's effort, it's a lot of work. But when you do get
to drop off last minute, you know, we've had that's so it's just timing, man.
You have mic problems, audio problems, visual problems, and I'm very aware. I don't take, like, I can handle criticism. I personally, I really, really, really can. It's just the thing I couldn't handle was, why was I thinking more about Irons United than I was West Ham? And I take on board what you're saying as well about what you guys are doing, because I think, you know, you're raising the awareness so well, and you know, you've got such a massive country with people are supporting our club. It's an amazing thing to do, and a massive plaudits to you guys for doing it. Every West Ham fan, I mean, you're an equal to every West Ham fan that's born, bred here. I mean, I'm not born and bred in London, so, you know, that was another thing for me as well. When we started the channel, I was always worried because I had the Scottish accent. I was like, will West Ham fans take to me? And my dad, who's a Cockney, was like, well, why not? Why would they not?
Well, they watch Geo, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
You know, exactly. So it's crazy, man.
It's just an interesting. There's so many different reasons why people do it and want to do it, but we just decided we kind of really hit a bit of a brick wall in the summer, and then we just really had a big kind of chat about why we do it.
Everybody
we thought,
go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And it really has to come from there now. And we can't get hurt because an audio doesn't work, and we just try and fix it and try and give the best experience to the fans. But it's so frustrating. And then, God, you guys know yourself, and I really hope you don't get involved in it, but the West Ham social media politics is a horrible place, guys. It's really not nice. And
Twitter's the worst.
Yeah, I can handle a lot, but sometimes people take it too far, and I just feel like you wouldn't say it in person half the time. So that's a different story.
The worst for me is the you know, the dislikes. You know what I mean? Because that's completely anonymous. Like, you can't see, at least on Twitter, you can see someone's handle, or if you can see, you know what I'm saying? Or you can read their previous posts and see what's up, you know. But these people who just click the dislike button for no reason or whatever, if there is a reason, they don't even leave a comment saying why. That drove me mad in the beginning, you know. But that, I got over that real quick. That's not the issue for me. The issue for me was that, you know, people were telling me heading in. So we started deadline day last year of January. So, you know, the end of January, beginning of February, and going forward, as I kept getting addicted to it and evolving. So I'm like, listen, we can reach more, you know, people here, and I don't want to, you know, do 2 interviews a week and that's only it, and we'll have to spread this out over a long period of time when I can just keep trying to unearth, you know, new groups and do more interviews, blah blah blah. That's just my addictive personality there. But I was told ahead of time that when the season ended, to cut back, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna do the opposite. Because there's less West Ham, so
surely people want more.
Exactly. You know, that was my thought process, that well, they're not getting the games. Well, let's give them something else to watch.
Yeah.
So I did, and let me tell you, man, I burnt myself out. I haven't taken a break yet, but at the same time, I mean, I almost called it quits a few times. I just the whole thing. I got a T-shirt here. That's Jay from Hammer and Talk. That's another one who vanished off the face of the earth. And I almost did that myself, just because it was just I wasn't seeing. It was becoming. How do I put it? It was becoming too serious.
Yeah. Yeah,
you're
right.
I mean, I'm seeing that the subscriber count wasn't growing fast enough for like the amount of people that were watching the content, and I felt that everybody hated us because of it. You know what I mean? Like why aren't people it got too serious. So I'm like, you know what? No, I just took a breath. I didn't take a break, but I took a breath and said, you know what? No, I'm just gonna keep going.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna stop.
Absolutely.
I'm just gonna keep going and see what happens. And
if
we get it, we get it. If we don't, we don't. But no, I mean, listen, just like you guys, I mean, I love. Everything from like the thumbnails to the graphics. I mean, the people that you got involved as well. Like you have a decent group of people that most people enjoy watching. Whether if you're not on the video, people also enjoy watching Stelios or Luke or everybody else. I mean, it's you got. And it's a variety. That's what I love about West Ham Fan TV and also Hammer's Chat and you guys, that there's so much variety. And that's what we're trying to do, and that's what we've been trying to do since we started to evolve. Was, we threw out some, random bitch fests or some random content where we would, do the match previews, the reviews, the just random stuff.
Yeah.
Our fantasy Premier League show. You know what I mean? Based off of our league. That's something different. Just for, even if people only watch that one video a week. I mean, that's fine by me. It gives them something different. But our main mission, though, and I'll say it over and over again, is that we want to keep unearthing all the West Ham fans here in the country, because I feel that there's a lot more than are visible.
Absolutely, yeah.
There's some people that use Twitter that don't use Facebook and Instagram. You know what I mean, or vice versa.
And Tim, you make a point there as well, because something I've always said is, you see a lot of, this is not discrediting Hammers Polls, who we work with and do a lot of stuff with and support. It's just discrediting maybe voting systems that only have 2,000 people voting. But we know that a minority is on social media. I suppose when you look at a football stadium of 60,000 fans, there's probably a strong possibility that 60,000 of those don't sit and look at our videos, don't look at the Twitter accounts. Honestly, and I genuinely believe that. You walk around and I'd say, have you ever heard of Irons United? No, what's that? YouTube. I'm not expecting people to hear of us because we've got low subscribers, but what's that? We're a YouTube channel. Oh, I don't watch YouTube. And literally most of the people I sit around don't have a clue what YouTube is and don't watch it. And it's like that. But another reason why we started was, you see all your statistics that come through, and we wanted to look at different demographics. We actually wanted to look at an older generation. So an older generation, in theory, doesn't come onto YouTube, but that's the target audience to a certain extent, because we don't really have much youthful content.
Yeah.
So we were always looking for the older. So I was talking to my dad, who's 73. And honestly, guys, the stories he comes out with at West Ham, it's just, my dad's come on the show a few times, and the comments coming back to us are amazing. Let's get him on a bit more. I'd love to just give him a show. It would just be a historian version of it all. It would just be fantastic stories. And that's the sort of stuff that I want to also bring is, everyone talks about the kind of new generation fan. Why not give them a bit of history and really go into depth about the history? I mean, my dad's first ever game. I don't have the date in me, but it was like in the 1950s against AC Milan in a friendly.
Wow.
And people didn't know that we played AC Milan in a friendly back then. But for Father's Day, I found the programme from my dad and gave it to my dad at the programme, and he was just so emotional about it. But it's awesome. It's just stuff like that. Like, I didn't even know we played it until he told me the story. So it's just another reason for doing it. It's like, it's just, it's heartwarming stuff, and you're passionate.
No, I love that. I love that. Yeah, exactly. And one of the things that we have been planning on doing for quite some time. It's just finding the authors of these books is so difficult. But
absolutely,
we wanted to do a West Ham book club. I mean, we're going to do, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't be like a regular weekly thing or a daily thing or whatever. It would just be whenever we could get these people on. We've already had a couple authors on. I think I've had two, Chuck Core and Robert Banks. But we want to do a West Ham book club, and try to give interaction to, because listen, there's people who read books that don't even, that aren't really heavy on social media, that they might be in YouTube, and we might be able to interact with them, etc. And then the other one was, well, we're going to be doing the FIFA show, obviously, when that comes out. Gaz, who's in the chat room right now, he's going to be heading that. We're going to be playing against our subscribers, which is kind of cool. And
yeah, that's definitely cool.
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. But no, the history aspect, I mean, that's one of my favorites on Irons United.
Yeah,
it's really enjoyable.
We just tried a couple of we tried a couple of shows where we asked the guys in the group, and like you said, we've got a really wide variety of ages. We've got a 19-year-old boy, Richard, from South Africa. He appears on Premier League TV every week. So I don't know if you guys are aware in the States, but we have BT Sky Sports, who obviously bid for the rights for the football, and they show the football over here, but we can't get access to things like Premier League TV. But in the rest of the world, you have access to Premier League TV. So that's outweighing the UK in terms of viewers and people. So in actual fact, Richard appears on Premier League TV every single week. And he probably gets
really cool
1 million times viewers more than what we do. So he comes on our show. He's been with us from the start. He does his own version. He does a thing called an opposition report. So his idea is he just looks at the opposition and just really concentrates on them for a short, sharp video. He does a fantasy show as well, similar to you guys. He talks about the points, all that sort of stuff. And then we've got the other end of the scale. We've got Stelios, who's 85 years old. Alf, who's maybe 80. No, I'm only joking. That's me taking the piss at their age. But but they come with a great knowledge of West Ham, and they've become passionate about doing videos. It's funny. Yeah. So it's good fun. It is good fun.
Yeah, exactly. And I like the variety. Now, we were talking off the air beforehand with I was with Chris here. Chris, you have seen Irons United, or have you not seen Irons United?
Say this again.
Have you watched the Irons United content, or have you not?
I have not watched too much of it. No offense to you guys.
It's not. I don't take offense, mate. Don't worry.
No, that's the thing is that Anton. That's my point, though. My point is that the reason why we have you on, the reason why we've had people from Hammers Chat and everybody else, West Ham Fan TV, is that we want to, showcase you guys as well to the American fans, because there are so many, man. Yeah, you see the jersey, the Chelsea shirts, the Man U shirts, Arsenal, Liverpool, and all that stuff everywhere you go in the country. But I from day one, I'm like, no, there's more than that. There's got to be West Ham supporters. And when NBC Sports, who has the contract for the Premier League over here, when they had a My Premier League Mornings Fan Fest in Boston, which is about 45 minutes from where I live. My original co-host and I, Lee, we went down there to the Fan Fest, and he was saying, "Oh man, we'll probably see maybe 8 or 9 people, wearing West Ham and whatnot." Dude, there was over 100.
Yeah,
that place was packed. Yes, there was 1 million more, our top 6 club shirts everywhere, but we also saw Brighton and Hull shirts. I mean, I'm telling you, it was crazy. But we saw literally about 100 West Ham shirts, and that they must have driven. They must have come from driving distance, and we're like, well, the supporters club in town only gets like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
What I mean? So what's up with that? But no, I mean, the point is that we definitely feel that there's more, which is also why we started to jump into the podcast scene, because, you listen to Dave and X, the West Ham Way, the podcast. I mean, they get, hundreds, thousands of people listening to that show. There's also over here American West Ham podcast, and there's Green Street Hammers. But there's also more than just a podcast over there.
Well, I was just going to say there's actually quite a few. There's before I even done this and considered doing it and just got into like podcasting and whatever. I used to listen to Stop Hammer Time.
Yes.
And then Knees Up Mother Brown when it was Chris Skull.
I missed that. Yeah,
it's still all there if you can get the content. It's really good. And then I listened to More Than Just a Podcast, and now I've actually become quite reasonably friendly with one of the guys that's on the show from More Than Just a Podcast, because there's a kind of friendly family connection there. Randomly, we didn't know about, and it's just really surreal when you've listened to someone for maybe 2 or 3 years, and then you bump into them, and you're a bit like, oh. But they're just a normal guy. You're treating them a little bit like a celebrity. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah. Another one that I've been listening to a lot lately is, We Are West Ham podcast on, I think it's Love Radio. But they have Love Sport Radio. Yeah. But no, they're really good. And we're going to be having, we're going to be doing a little show swap soon with them, like having them on our show and vice versa. But they're really good. What else is there? But no, those are really the main ones. Three Hammers, used to put out a lot of good content. They disappeared as well, and I guess they're coming back on the YouTube. But Knees Up Mother Brown, man, that was one of the first podcasts I ever listened to. And one of them actually lives over here in LA.
James.
Yeah, James. Yeah, you guys had him on the show.
Yeah,
I was talking to him on Twitter, and then trying to get him on our show, and you guys got him like that. And I'm like,
I'll tell you something about that one. When I got married to my wife, we came to the States. I love the States. I come over as much as I possibly can.
Awesome.
I've got 2 kids under 3, so it's been a little bit more difficult recently, but we will be back. But I've been a lot. Anyway, on our honeymoon, we came to San Francisco, Vegas, and LA. And when we got to San Francisco, I was looking online, and I don't know how it popped up, but I seen that James Corden was opening up a show, and I think he must have been doing the show for 2 or 3 weeks, and it was being a success. So I thought, I wonder if you can get onto the audience, into the audience. So I went onto the website, and you got a little paragraph in the website, and it says, why do you want to come onto the show? Because you don't have to pay for your ticket. So I wrote in the paragraph, I'm on my honeymoon, and I'm a massive West Ham fan, because I know James Corden's a massive West Ham fan. Yeah. And I'm not joking you, within 2 minutes, we got a reply and we got 2 tickets to the show. So off we went to the show. And what's really cool about the show when you go, is it CBC? Is that the channel?
CBS.
Yeah. So you go to the studios, you queue up, and I think at the same time the James Corden queue wasn't as, it was still big and it was sold out in terms of tickets, but there was that Dancing with the Stars was on as well at the same time, and that was getting filmed, so the queue was huge for that one. Yeah. Anyway, we got in and we got front row, and just sitting in and watching the experience of the show getting filmed. But what's really cool is James Corden has like a standing point when he comes onto the show, and it's a little sticker that sits on the floor that you can't see on the TV, and it's the old West Ham crest.
Nice.
And you can, and when you're front row, you can totally see it.
That's awesome.
So when James Corden comes on, he does the G up for the crowd, and I'm standing there, and everyone's clapping their hands, going mental, woohoo! And the whole time, I'm just like this. And he turns around and he just goes like this to me, and I'm like, yeah, James Corden, woo! That's so awesome. When I contacted James Longham, I was just telling him the story, and he was just laughing his head off. So he came on and just done a chat. He only had like 25 minutes or so, but yeah, he's a nice proper West Ham, like just nice guy. Yeah,
like I said, I used to love listening to him on the podcast as well. Chris, what kind of podcasts do you listen to? You listen to any?
Mainly American West Ham podcast. I have to look through my podcasts. I have a few, and obviously like Data Next every week. It helps.
I
mean, that's the go-to. That's the easy. Like,
nothing is really daily out there, really. Yeah. So it does. They do fall. They seem to fall into place. All the different podcasts out there, like so you have something there each day, something different, which is kind of cool. But
yeah, exactly.
No, the coming back around, the point I was mentioning, the podcast thing, was that there's a lot of people who listen to those podcasts that don't follow YouTube or don't use YouTube as much. So there's a whole nother audience out there. And that's the reason why we started doing that with Kyle from Fresno, and who's fantastic, by the way. And Zach from, he's from Maryland. He bounces around from the Maryland Hammers, DC Irons and stuff. So they've been fantastic together. And we're adding a bunch of new, kind of like what we've done with our channel. We're adding a bunch of new podcasts through that. We've tested out a few things because, obviously it's in the baby stages, just like our show. We've only been around for 8 months now, so our podcast has only been around for a month. So we're gonna have more content and just keep on pushing, because it's funny how we're finding people that are listening to our podcast that have never watched our YouTube show.
Yeah,
it's crazy. I
mean, we had a website, and we still do. We do blogs on our website, and we went through at the start, maybe the first couple of years, we were getting really, really good writers on our blogging site. And that's a whole different ballgame as well. You get so many people who don't even come on to watch visual or even listen to podcasts. They just love reading. And Alf, I don't know if you watch any of the shows that Alf does. I love the shows that Alf does on our channel. He does a show called the West Ham Grumble, or he does the West Ham Oi Oi. So depending on the mood he's in and depending on the result West Ham get, it's depending on the sort of guy you
I like
get.
the grumble.
Yeah, and if it's the grumble, he goes a little bit. It's hilarious. But he
also does other stuff too, like not with your channel, right? Like he does other.
He's got his own channel. Yeah, so he's into motorbikes. He's got his own YouTube channel. He's just a down to earth, passionate guy about what he does. But he's also a fantastic writer. And he, at one point, honestly, guys, he was probably putting out 2 blogs a day for us for easily 6 or 7 months in a row. And at that point, our blogging site was going through the roof. It was literally going crazy. But then, as you guys know yourself, things take over. It's managing it, and that's what you need to do. It's all about managing it. Because we've been thinking about podcasting for over a year. And we didn't want to commit to it until we had it really summed up.
I didn't either. I didn't want to do it, man. And then somebody who is in the American Hammers TV group per se, we have a decent chunk of people who do, co-hosting or hosting from time to time. If I can't do something and we get a special guest that can only do a certain day or whatever, we have a decent group of people that I can rely on. And one of them, who I won't name, basically said he heard a podcast out there and got so upset. And he said, all right, Tim, he sends me a text. He's like, we got to do it now. He's like, you ready? Are you ready to do a podcast? I'm like, no, I was going to wait till we hit like 1,000 subscribers or our year mark, which is in, deadline day of January. And I'm like, I want to, hone what we got first. And he's like, well, fuck it, I'm doing it. And I'm like, oh, man. Like, no. And then his podcast isn't even really technically part of our channel after all that. Because I said, no, I want to wait. And he said, no, fuck it, I'm doing it. And then I'm like, you know what? Well, if you're doing it, then we're going to do it too. Let's just everybody do it. Let's all do podcasts. Let's all do it together. So here we are. And actually, the one that we got going on, it really is good. So I'm shocked because it literally came out of nowhere and just whipped it up and said, hey, let me see. I'm going to take a long list of all of our previous guests. Let's see. I'll pick you and your voice kind of sounds cool. I'll put you 2 together, see how it works. And throw it goes, all right, you just record it and give it to me and I'll edit it and voila. And sure enough, it's just working. So there you go. It works,
yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's definitely cool.
Okay, all right. So we're about the halfway point. So what we'd like to do with the halfway point is pull up a screen share here of the just Googling West Ham and seeing the different news topics and getting all of our opinions on it. And then after that, we're friends with Hammers Polls as well. We'll pull up a few Hammers Polls and give our opinions on those. And then after that, we'll head into the rapid fire finale. Just 11 rapid fire questions and go from there. So anyway, let me pull up the stuff here. So, oh boy. So the West Ham ladies lost. That was a tough one. Anyway, but this is what everybody's talking about right now. Did you hear anything at all ahead of time, like or from anybody in your Irons United group? Were you guys aware that this was going to happen, this whole Javier Hernandez to Sevilla, or did it just come out of the blue?
I think it's not trying to stake any claim that we had any other information that anyone else didn't know, but when you're involved in this kind of social media, ITKs, people, whatever, sometimes I feel like you can put 2 and 2 together. And you realise that our transfer window stopped, a month ago? And the European window stopped. And then you start to look at Hernandez's, he had a bug, then he hurt his toe, and he's just come off scoring a goal. And then you think he's just had a kid. In between training, he's nipped across to another country, had another mini holiday with his child, And you start to put 2 and 2 together and you think to yourself, will there be European clubs sniffing around them? So I've seen a few it was like we heard MLS, we heard, some other European clubs. Didn't see the Seville one. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if you ever see my videos, right? And I get slagged off for it all the time. Apparently, I like all the crap West Ham players, but I still stand by my decision. Chicharito, if played right, if played well, and played in a proper formation, is a very good striker. So I'm not into the whole fans ripping him apart on social media because, do you know what? You're just doing something to get attention. He is a very, very good player. And when you look at his stats, I don't have them right now, but his goals to games started ratio is actually very decent.
Is it now? Really?
Yeah, to games started.
Yeah, okay.
Not games played.
But that's funny because the games he came off the bench is usually when he would score, no?
Yeah, but if you look at his earlier start to West Ham career was when he was getting quite a few starts.
Yeah.
And I just, it's not going to work out for West Ham because West Ham don't want to play that style. And that's fine. And there is an element of me that's gutted, but a lot of these people who slag off Chicharito are the same ones that were over the moon when he signed, when West Ham released that video when he was there, and there was not a single fan that wasn't elated or happy. But I seen a tweet today. I don't know who it was from, but someone put a tweet out today saying, "Thanks, Chicharito, for everything you've done. You've risen our standards ever so slightly. Like maybe not the standard of football, but maybe the quality of player that comes in. Because he's such a well-known player, and he's got such a good goal-scoring record. I don't know what you guys think."
Well, that's the thing. I was going to ask Chris in just 1 second, but I do want to mention real quick that the only thing I really want to mention about it is that we get his wages off the books, and that's gonna be a massive chunk.
Yeah.
So, I mean, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I have nothing negative to say about him. I agree with you, and I feel that he was misused quite a bit, and that goes back to Bilic even. If you ever watched our show, you'll know how I feel about that man. But anyway, good luck at West Brom. And so anyway, Chris, what do you think about this whole Chicharito thing?
I think you guys have hit on everything. I agree. I think too. He could have been a sensational player for us, but he was definitely misused. And I mean, when we needed him most, he would perform for us. So he helped keep us in many games. I mean, other games he was just non-existent, but I mean, it's just about everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think when you think about it, I mean, we actually went on holiday to Seville over the summer there, and I mean, it's a beautiful city. I think it's the hottest city in Europe. I mean, I would want to live there and probably play football there for a club that potentially can win cups. Obviously, I wouldn't want to play there over West Ham, but he's not a West Ham fan, so he's just had a kid. He probably wants to bring the kid up in the heat, the warmth, the nice, comfortable heat. So it's kind of a no-brainer. And like you guys said, 140 grand off the wage bill, which seems to be the big important thing at West Ham right now, is massive. But when we've got all the players, i.e., I can see it, you're pulling it up there, Sebastian Haller, in the wings. I mean, what can we say about him?
Seriously, well, what can we? I mean,
he's been fantastic.
That's it. I mean, it's a breath of fresh air, really, right?
He's just got everything. Again, talking to my dad a lot about all the olden days. He's like your old school centre forward.
Yeah.
Holding centre forward. He can.
Beautiful.
I mean, you've seen some of the clips as well this week that West Ham have been putting out, because we're very West Ham social media team love putting out clips of the game and nutmegs that players do. But he's just a very clever footballer, and he seems to connect really well with Anderson, Lanzini, all these attacking style players, because that's what he feeds into. And he knows he makes the runs, and that's where I think Masuaku is going to benefit, because Masuaku just needs to put the ball in the box.
That's it.
He doesn't even really have to look up and think, is Haller there? Because he probably thinks he will be in there.
Yeah.
And he's that kind of fox in a box, but he's not a fox. He's a big fucking bear.
Yeah, he is, man. No, he is. Yeah, and his passes are just so soft, man, and smooth, and for a big dude. I mean, man, if Andy Carroll could pass like that or had touch like him, man, we would have been Champions League already. You know what I mean?
Do you know what, guys? I'm not in the kind of. I looked at Andy Carroll's statistics. You can't, no one can argue for his statistics at the club. Yeah. But on his day, he was unplayable. Andy Carroll was unplayable. I was at the years ago Upton Park. We played Tottenham. It was when Gareth Bale started to hit form for Tottenham, and I think we got beat in the last minute from a Gareth Bale absolute worldie of a goal. But in that game in particular, I remember watching the ball come out from the keeper. Andy Carroll just one touch, stopped the ball dead, looked up, fed one of the players, and ran into the box. And that's what the fit Andy Carroll we knew could do. But unfortunately, he wasn't fit. So, of course, he had to go. It was a no-brainer. But I just think we've got the full package in Allaire. I think he just looks
100%.
fantastic.
100%. Yeah. I'm so happy. I know we were all crossing our fingers, I believe, when we first signed him. Would he play well? Would he connect well with Anderson and those players, Lanzini that you mentioned earlier? And it looks like he has, or is. It looks like every single match, everybody's becoming more comfortable.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
My biggest concern, though, falls upon, with the Chicharito sale, is the strength in that position. Chats today coming out are saying that when Silva, who does look like a great talent, the Portuguese boy, he's going to be relied upon, because we cannot go for the rest of this season with 2 strikers. And yes, there's the chat about Yarmolenko, and I get that.
Yeah.
But he's still not your name striker. And
no.
We do have strength and depth. We save money. We need that prolific-ish goal scorer to come alongside. And I know we've got Ajeti sitting there, but he's unproven yet. He looks all right, but he's unproven.
So you're saying recall Hugel, right? Is that what you're saying?
5 and 6 guys, 5 and 6 in the championship. I mean,
is that nuts? I know.
He's got. See, when you watch any prolific goal scorer who's an ex-pro talk on any of these programs, all they say is, when a player scores a goal, you don't drop him. When a player scores a goal, you don't drop him. You keep playing. You build the momentum, build the momentum, build the momentum. Now, I'm not saying bring Jordan Hugo back, but his confidence is through the roof.
Yeah.
And whether it's a championship or not, it's a tough league. It's a bit like Chicharito when he scored against Brighton. Or, it was Brighton, wasn't it? Yeah. No, yeah, it was Brighton. And then he suddenly missing the next game. It's just like, consistency. West Ham's issue is consistency in team selection. That's my biggest problem.
Yeah.
What do you think, Chris?
With Alain, personally, one of my favorite things with him is, and it's different. It's different than what we've seen in the past couple of years from guys like Arnautovic, is his ability to be humble as well, like off the field. Like, he scores a brace and he says that he thinks he had a bad game. He scores one over the weekend and he says he still hasn't found his footing in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Like, I love the
that to happen.
Who want to continually get better or admit their shortcomings and what they're working on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will he be our? Do you think? I mean, do you see him being our 20 goal a season striker? I mean, that's a lot of chat we talk about. A few of the guys in our group say they absolutely see him doing that.
I don't see why not. I really can't. I mean,
he could. Absolutely, but I see him more like 15 and 15. You know, I mean, I see him he's an unselfish player, man, and he knows when he's in a situation where he can't do something, and it looks like he has the instinct to be able to let the ball off or find someone miraculously and let them score, you know, and that unselfishness, I think, will prevent him from hitting, I mean, maybe even like 19 or 18 or somewhere, you know, close. I mean, yes, he can hit 20 for sure. I mean, look how early it is in the season. He's already got 3. So I don't know, man. Yeah, why not? What about you?
The creativity behind him is the thing that is exciting as a West Ham fan. Of obviously, we've got our concern about the defence, but it looks like Pellegrini's going into the season with we need to score more than we concede. And yeah, I think he's definitely more than capable, especially with who I predict to be Hammer of the Year, Lanzini's performances in the start of the season. I think he's been absolutely unreal. I think he's coming into the season injury free. He doesn't rely. He's not relied upon to come back and track back as much as what people want him to, because we've got other players there that can do that. So give him a free role, and it looks like he's thriving upon that role.
That looks like that across the board, though, especially up in the attacking. I mean, it looks like everybody seems to be more relaxed and having fun. Even when they're struggling, when they struggled against Brighton, you know, it looked like it was because Allaire wasn't there and Antonio wasn't there. But now that you know, you look at Watford and Norwich. I mean, everybody looked just superb together. They looked like they're gelling, and everybody seems to be happy. I think Lanzini's performing well because he knows he's got a healthy Anderson and Allaire, and you know, Yarmolenko. If he can just get 100% fit, man, he'll be a nasty.
Guys, I agree with you, Tim, on that, because I predicted big things for Yarmolenko last year, and if it wasn't for his injury, I actually think, he would have just gone on and on and on for that season. Now, I was at the game on Saturday, and he didn't have the greatest of first halves. He didn't have a crap first half, But my word, when he grew into that game and came into the second half, his confidence, it wasn't just about the goal, it wasn't about the fact he hit the post. He was just effective in every single pass he made. He's just clever. People expect him to have pace. He is never going to have pace.
Never has.
He never has, and he never will. He's a ball-playing footballer. Get the ball to his feet, and he's clever. And
very. Yeah, he's got great vision. He know and with exception of the Rose Z kick, the Anton, but with exception of that, he just has a knack for where people are around him and where the goal is, And
that's why I think that all the players around him will see an opportunity, because we've not started with Yarmolenko this season. When he came in against there, he literally sometimes, it's as if he doesn't need to look up. He will just put a ball and there'll be a West Ham player on the end of it. So, I mean, if I was an attacking West Ham player and Yarmolenko's on the ball and he's 25 yards out, I would be attacking that goal like a maniac. Because I'd be thinking, I'm going to get a goal here because he's just going to find my head or put the ball at my feet,
Chris, what do you think about Yarmolenko?
Again, it's one of those things where you guys have basically hit everything that I have to say about him. I think he's a great player on his day. I think he's still not necessarily struggling or nervous, but he's still not 100% from the injury. I think he's still regaining his feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he needs to get fit. I mean, that's it. I mean, but again, he needs minutes to do it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And then people were saying after, before Antonio's injury that they were calling, for Antonio to start in his place. And I was, one of the few on our channel anyway that said no. Antonio. I mean, Yarmolenko is a better player. He's a better technical player, and he better suits our players around the attack with his creativity and so on. That's elite class right there. You have an elite class of people up there, and but he needs to get fit. And he can't get fit coming off the. Yarmolenko can't get fit coming off the bench. He can't get fit playing 13 minutes a match. He needs at least 60 plus minutes a match to get fit. And once he is fit, fucking look out.
Yeah. And that's going to go eventually for when Antonio returns.
Yeah. You've just got to look at all the games that say Antonio's come on, or you look at the reaction of the fans in general. When Antonio starts and then he comes off as a sub, you get the fans that are complaining. But when Antonio's a sub and comes off the bench and goes on beast mode, you get all the fans that are buzzing, delighted, over the moon. And that's the kind of impact that Antonio's got. So, we can't fault Antonio's career at West Ham. I think he's been... I mean, he came from the Championship and he's been fantastic, to be honest. And he's had a couple of half a season that was kind of crap, and he got judged for it. I think it was unfairly judged, to be honest, because he gave us a lot elsewhere. Yeah,
speaking of Lanzini, someone did mention in the chat here that Lanzini's going off on international duty. Can we fucking ban him from doing that?
Yeah.
Isn't that where he got hurt last time?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
In preparation for the World Cup.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I mean, if you were Lanzini, if you had a brain in your head, right? I mean, wouldn't you say, you know what?
That's what those Argentinians and Brazilians and all the kind of South Americans are like, though. Like that's their
country,
that's
man.
That's their thing. Like they're going to go, and do you know what? Fair play. They have to go, and West Ham have to get over this kind of voodoo thing that we think we're in, which is the injury we do. Unfortunately, it does follow us, but the sooner that Lanzini just keeps playing, he's signed with us for 4 more years. We just need to obviously we keep him fit, but the accidents, injuries are, unless your name's Andy Carroll, they're freak incidents. It's just unfortunate for some players.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to head back here for a second and take a look at our next few matches. Looks like we have Villa coming up next, not for a couple of weeks, but looks like on the 16th, and that's 3 p.m. Eastern time. That's not UK. So don't get confused to our UK viewers. There's a bunch of UK viewers in our chat room today, and I really appreciate that because we're kind of doing an early Monday show. Usually we would do it, I think, at like 8 o'clock Eastern time. But anyway, so we got Villa on Monday, the 16th, and then we got Man U on the 22nd, bright and early, 9 a.m. at Eastern time. Oof. And then we got Oxford in the League Cup. Now Oxford's playing shit this year, man. If you look at them in the standings, they got good old Wally Downs. In the at the helm over there, but I don't know, man. What do you think, Anton? You think we can make a cup run this year in the League Cup, or
I think every West Ham fan's crying out for a cup run. It's just a case of I think for me personally, it's down to Pellegrini and West Ham's team selection, and we'll see that by who he starts, I suppose.
Well, they got Bournemouth 3 days later. You know what I mean? And they have actually Man U 3 days before. So
There's another 3 games in a week stretch.
that's
It's
going to be
important,
tricky.
but it's important to West Ham fans that we do get a cup run.
Yeah.
It's really important, and I think Pellegrini does understand that. I really do believe he does, but it's yet to be seen, I suppose, when we go into the next round. But yeah, I'm desperate for a cup run. I mean, I've witnessed us win playoff finals, but not an actual FA Cup or a League Cup. And I look at teams like Leicester and Middlesbrough when I was growing up as a kid, and they've won the League Cup, and I'm just like, and Leicester obviously in more recent years have won the Premier League, and I'm just like, why can't that be West Ham? I mean, Bolton Wanderers,
Seriously.
they won the League Cup as well, like, or when it was called the Coca-Cola Cup.
Yeah.
And it's just like West Ham couldn't get there, and our closest year to the League Cup was when the year we beat Aston Villa, and then we had to replay the game because we had Manny Omniemny, who was banned. He was an eligible player. I think I can't remember right. People who are watching just now will probably know, but we got through to the semi-final. But they made us replay the game because, like I said, they found out Manny Omniemny was actually banned, and they had to make us replay the game. So we had to play the quarterfinal, and we got beaten the replay. So, yeah, massively important.
Yeah, in Birmingham, remember, I think it was the year we got relegated. Birmingham won the League Cup, and they got relegated as well with us.
Obafemi Martins, I remember that.
So if they, someone like that, helmed by Alex McLeish can, win something, why can't we?
Tim, I'm just going to have to grab a charger. I'm really sorry. I'm just going to quickly 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Grab a charger, okay?
Yeah, and when you come back, we'll hit the rapid fire. Let's go through a couple of Hammers polls here while we wait.
Absolutely.
Donuts. Never mind, you can't see that.
I'll take a donut.
Oh boy, people are gonna start giving me shit for these, advertisements that pop up, thinking that I'm searching for donuts or something. Let's see. Donuts. There you go, everybody. Have a donut.
It was really good, actually.
Yeah, every show always has something messed up or something funny. I'll never forget. I think over on the right-hand side, up here somewhere, where it said something like, trending for you. It said something like Mia Khalifa. But she's a West Ham supporter, so maybe she popped up via that.
Yeah, that was a great few weeks when that revelation came out.
Yeah.
I remember seeing like some tweets going around, Declan was liking the post that she had on Instagram.
Look at those donuts, though, man. Oh God, warm cider donuts made fresh all day long.
Bad day to be on a diet.
That's funny. All right. So anyway, as it's International Week, we talked sport with Jim White today. I guess it wasn't today. I guess it was today. They were discussing Harry Kane and his dive against Arsenal over the weekend. Would you be happy with your national captain diving to gain a penalty if he could get away with it in the World Cup? Yes or no? I'll start with you, Chris.
Oh, I have no idea on that. I don't watch as much USA national games as I should.
I don't watch it.
I'm excited by it, especially when we miss the World Cup. So if we even had a chance at winning the World Cup, I'm fine with it. Like,
yeah. All right, so if you were, but if you were England, though, like, what would you? I mean,
I have no idea.
Yeah. What do you say, Anton? What if it was Stephen Fletcher or
Tim,
Ross McCormick?
Tim, something you don't realise with me, I've got a Scottish accent, but I'm actually a massive England fan and travel.
Oh, good.
Play.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, of course. I mean, I don't like cheaters, but everyone's done it at some point in their life when they've done a sport. They've done, if it's a minor cheat or whatever, but if they're going to get away with it, I mean, it's a no-brainer. And 61%, obviously.
Yeah, there's only 57 votes at this time because it was only posted an hour ago. But so far, looks like a yes. Our buddies over at American West Ham Podcast, they say, how will you look back on Chicharito's time at West Ham? Positively, negatively, or indifferent? We pretty much explained our answers, but if you could just run down and give us your answer. Anton.
I'll say indifferent.
Indifferent? Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, same here. That first 3 indifferent, and sure enough, 519 votes on this one, 67%. So what say you guys in the chat room? Give us your input there. I do see people answering the last question saying 100% yes. What are your favorite donuts? Oh, there we go. That's awesome.
He's Mick's been down to the supporters club a few times forever.
He said that, yeah. He's mentioned that. You know, he just started watching our show not too long ago. He watched a bunch of ours after the fact, but we usually do our shows late your time. So he said this is one of his first. I think it is his first live viewing of our show.
Yeah.
But no, we get a decent chunk, man. You know, in the live chats, which is really cool. I think we got 17 people in there right now, which is nice. All right, let's see the next one here. This is by our other friends. Oh no, never mind. There's no question. Well, good job, friends. All right, Hammers Polls. Would you be happy with Yarmolenko as the backup striker? We kind of touched on this. If Allaire and Ajeti aren't fit, but in seriousness, like, really, would you be happy if Yarmolenko was sitting at striker because we had no other option?
No.
Happy with it? No, but I would be able to deal with it.
Yes, that's a good valid point, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I could see. I wouldn't be surprised if he did a good job at it. You know, I wouldn't be surprised, but
I think his career in his former clubs, he has done it before. Though,
yeah, he has.
So, yeah.
Yeah, let's see here. So let's get into let's finish that. Let's wrap that up because actually we got to get into the rapid fire questions. Yeah, rapid fire. Dun, dun, dun. So basically, every single episode that I'm on. I mean, some episodes we will have somebody else interviewing. They don't have their hands on the list here, but I somewhere have my hands on the list. The rapid fire questions. It's fun, man. So some of them are. If you've never watched these questions be done before, I mean, some of them are generic, some of them are fun, some of them are like, let me really think about that one. But it's technically rapid fire. If you want to elaborate on your answers, feel free. You don't have to, but there's going to get to a point where you're going to be like, what did you just say? I swear to God, I swear. So anyway, first question, meat pie or apple pie? And before you say, there already was a bunch of people in the chat room guessing what your answer was going to be when I mentioned that we would be doing the rapid fire questions tonight. So let's see if they're right. What is meat pie or apple pie?
Apple pie.
Apple pie. I think one person said you'd say that. I can't remember who it was. And then they were also mentioning, their favorite type of meat pies. Yeah, no, Forever Blowing Bubbles said you were going to say meat pie. That's funny. Yeah, cool. All right. So the next question is, who's your favorite current West Ham player?
Tough.
Yeah.
I've got a West Ham. I'm going to elaborate slightly on this one. A player that gave us absolutely everything through his career, who's still at West Ham right now, who's still technically on the treatment table, is Winston Reid. His career at West Ham has been fantastic centre half. Desperate for him to come back and play that kind of Ginger Pelly role where he comes in and feeds in and fits in nicely, but hopefully he does come back on. But that's me just trying to prove a point to Stell. But my favourite West Ham player right now, currently, I'm just so excited when Anderson gets the ball. He just goes forwards. He just looks like he's having a ball, and I do not want him massively tracking back every single week where some fans do. I get why he needs to sometimes, but not all the time. Just give him the ball and let him run. Yeah, he excites me the most.
My somebody in the chat room is messing with me here because you usually So you said Reed, and my answer is always Tompkins because he's once you're West Ham, you're always West Ham in my eyes, and Slav never should have fucking sold him. And if he didn't sell him, we wouldn't have a fucking center back issue right now, and all this other stuff. So. Everybody in the chat room, go ahead and we have a drinking game. I have to mention James Tompkins every single episode. He's absolutely my favorite West Ham player of all time. He was a defender that he was an academy boy, dude. Like what?
So he's your favorite player of all time?
My favorite, number one, because I have a thing for defenders, man. Like defenders, I love a solid defender who can also score and. But also not just score and make up for a mistake, like Winston Reid did at the last game of the Boleyn. He gave up the first two goals and then
That was on Bonner, in my opinion, Tim. That was on Bonner.
Oh, I watched it back recently, man. I swear to God, it was Reed. All right, all right. Everybody, I'm not giving you shit for your opinion. All right, cool. But no, anyway, I love. I just have a soft spot for our academy players as well. Like, Jack Collison was one of my favorite players of all time. We actually had him on the show, and of course, you mentioned earlier, it was one of those shows where we had those damn audio issues. Like son of a bitch. But no, anyway, Tompkins for me. But anyway,
all time for me though, Tim. I just want to quickly clarify.
Yeah, sure.
West Ham players, Julian Dix.
Great one. No, that's great.
I remember growing up and always wanting to shave my head, but my mum would never allow me to. I remember I got the balls one year, and I must have been like 11 or 12. And I walked in, my brother shaved my head, and I came out, and my mum went absolutely mental. But I was happy, and I actually, I was at the game. I don't know if you ever remember. We played Chelsea, and Julian Dix stamped on John Spencer's head.
Yeah.
And then we were at that game, and then the next week, when you were outside Upton Park, and all the local vendors, they were selling T-shirts with Julian Dix standing on top of John Spencer's head. And I bought the T-shirt, and then when I was playing football at my school, everyone was like, because I'm 6'4", I'm about 18 stone. I wasn't like that, but I was still a big lad, and I used to always try and bully people on the ball because I wasn't technically gifted, but a decent defender. And they were all like, I had the shaved head, and they were like, my God, man, calm down. And I was like, yeah, Julian Dix, like that's what he does. And like you said, a goal scoring defender. Some of the goals he scored in his career at West Ham were unbelievable.
Yeah, that's true. And we came this close to having him as a guest on our show, and then
he signed for West Brom.
Correct.
The same as us.
Son of a bitch.
He was so close to coming on. Yeah.
Yeah, like literally. Like, I mean, I was shocked the guy even answered me.
Yeah.
And we were having a conversation, and we came down to selecting a date. We were going back and forth of a particular day of the week, and then he signed. And I'm like, you fucking slab, you took one away from me again, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was the same as well, Tim. He was going to come on the show as well, and then obviously he signed and he couldn't. But yeah, I've actually met him quite a lot. I was actually mascot for West Ham when I was a kid. So 1996, September the 29th. I'll never forget the day. I was 12 years old. I ran out with West Ham. Julian Dix was the captain. We played Liverpool, and it was actually Slaven Bilic's first ever goal for West Ham in the Premier League. Was the game I was mascot at. And Julian Dix was amazing. I've met him since. I don't know if you guys know, but he used to be on Twitter years and years and years ago. And then he just pulled himself off of Twitter completely. And I know it's his daughters now that kind of talk on behalf of him and stuff.
Facilitates everything for him. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Well, that answer usually comes up a lot when it comes down to one of our next further questions. So who frustrates you the most in the current West Ham squad?
Ogbonna.
Ogbonna. Okay, that's
Ogbonna.
Once before, yeah.
I played to maybe an amateur level in Scotland football as a centre half, and when West Ham signed Ogbonna, I was quite excited. But when he played the last season at Upton Park, for me, he's always been a calamity in a West Ham colours. Now, I'm taking away the fact that he scored really good goals against Liverpool, Tottenham, and their unforgettable goals. And I do think that he has some good games, and sometimes he's unplayable. But I think his not so good games outweigh his good games. I actually find him to be more of a calamity. I find that every partner that partners Ogbonna has to cover for Ogbonna. Now, if you watch that last game at Upton Park, Tim, and watch what Winston Reid has to do throughout the whole game, he's constantly screaming at Ogbonna. Like, it's quite embarrassing to the point the amount he has to scream. So I always find whatever player plays beside Ogbonna has to cover Ogbonna.
That's what you're saying. Yeah, you're probably right.
I'm not saying
I just kept seeing that the man that was getting beat or chasing Rashford was it Rashford or Martial? Sorry, I get those fucking guys confused. They're all anyway. All right, so I understand. You're right. You're probably right. But I just remember, seeing.
Yeah, no. But I was just meaning in general that was just highlighting that game in particular because, and then, but not even that game in particular because you put him beside Diop, and then
Diop was shit. Yeah.
Yeah, he's obviously young, talented young lad that clubs were rumoured to be sniffing around for £65 million.
That's mental. I would have
guy
sold
is so far
that's
from
a lot
being
of money.
as a joke. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's allowed to have a bad game because he's a young guy, but he does have to carry up on that quite a lot. And watch every game that they play. Mark Noble, when he plays, is turning round, and yeah, there's this. You know, Ogbonna looks like he's a nice guy to be in the squad. He looks like he's loved in the squad. He's a friendly guy, but he's just, for me, he's the most frustrating player. I think he's the stem to a lot of our problems in defence.
I agree. Next question is actually, this is one of our most popular ones. But anyway, the last question, the top two answers usually Antonio and Fredericks. Usually, but all right. So this question is FA Cup or top four finish?
FA Cup.
That seems to be almost unanimous, man. Pretty much almost unanimous all the time.
There's no ifs or buts about it. If we were in Champions League, I would love it. It would be amazing. But I would take the FA Cup, a day out of Wembley, hopefully, obviously winning the cup, and then you get a European slot the next year.
Anyway,
and then go the whole way in the Europa League, win the Europa League, and then get the Champions League spot through that way.
Yeah, exactly. That seems to be everybody's answer. What about West Ham do you love?
What, sorry?
What about West Ham do you love? Like, what one thing about West Ham do you love? That's a tough one, right?
It really is tough, yeah. Fuck.
Most people say supporters, family, the atmosphere, the actual camaraderie of all this, being at the match or watching a match and just feeling the passion behind the club. I mean, that seems in one way, shape, or form, that seems to be the number one type of answer.
And I'm fortunate enough to go to games, but also there's times where my two kids are born. I've got a season ticket, and I go maybe 6 or 7 times a year, so I get to watch a lot of them at home.
Yeah.
As you guys will do as well. And I know you've been to the game, Tim.
Yeah.
But the point is, you're right. It is a West Ham family. And reminding myself it's a West Ham family a lot, especially doing what we do by putting our faces and names in front of the camera to try and represent the fans, to explain to them, I'm not telling you your opinion. You're allowed to have your own opinion, and I don't need to fight you over it. We don't need to fight. We can have different opinions.
Yeah.
We just don't fight. But we're just, at the same end of the day, we're connected in one way, and that's the claret and blue. I love what happens when, especially living in Scotland, when people see my top, and you guys will get the same. Why are you West Ham? I talk about it. And then I get a lot of people coming back to me like a week or two later saying, I kept an eye out for their result. Kept an eye out for their result. And then you feel a sense of pride going, have I created a new West Ham fan?
Yeah.
Have I added to that, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. Like, it's amazing. So that's the part I really enjoy the most.
So what about West Ham do you hate?
If you'd asked me that a few years ago, I would have came out and said the owners, and there's still a little element of dislike, probably more dislike than like, and that's not related. It's just related to false promises. That's it. I was there. I was there. I went to the shop where you had to go and choose your seat for the new stadium, and they gave you this movie, literally Hollywood movie, of what the move would be like, and what kind of club West Ham would be, and what players we would bring in. And you were sitting there and you were sold, and it was an amazing feeling. You walked out and you spoke to your friends. You were like, yeah, 5 years' time, we're going to be in the Champions League. We're going to have this player, this player, this player. You genuinely believed it. I remember after the game against Manchester United, the Sky Sports spent the whole day at Upton Park, and they were interviewing David Sullivan, and the little yellow banner that goes along the bottom was West Ham are in talks with record signing, but never named the player. But the player at the time was supposed to be Lacazette and Batshuayi.
Yeah, remember that.
And you honestly believed it. I remember heading home and I was like, oh my God, we're going to be this best team ever. Fast forward, the next year we signed a couple of average Jimmies from wherever they were from, and it just didn't work out that way. And then you thought, God, you so got rid of your stadium for that, really? But they can't go back now. So spending the money they've spent, that's fine, but they've still got a few more years of catching up to do. They never spent the money for the first 2 years. So for me, it's people always say, what else do you want? Do you want another £40 million player? I'm not saying a £40 million, but yes, I do. Actually, yeah, that's the answer. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to make the difference and we're going to be the world beaters, but in order to move, you've got other teams around us like Crystal Palace spending 110 million every year. Wolves spending 110 million pound every year. Yeah. So we could have been 2 years ahead of that. That's my biggest concern.
So yeah, definitely. No, I mean that's a great answer. But the next one is, what sound makes you happy?
What sound?
Yep. It's one of those that just to throw you off, I guess. Completely random question thrown in the middle.
Bubbles.
There you go.
When bubbles pop.
Yeah, there you go. What's your favorite curse word?
Oh, I can't say it.
You can spell it out.
It begins with a C and ends with a T.
There you go. Yeah, that's number 2.
With a Cockney accent. It just only works with a Cockney accent.
That's true. You can't say
that's my justification.
Yeah, you can't say it in America. You also can't say twat because people don't say it like that over here. But if you say it the other way, the American way, then you can't say that word here either.
Yeah.
No, that's I guess the C and the T word. That's number 2. Usually, it's, the F word's number 1 usually because it's so versatile and whatever. So, what team do you love to beat? If there was just one team, like which one would you love to see us beat over and over and over and over and over?
That's really I find that one really tough because you can typically say you're Tottenham, Millwall, and all that sort of stuff. But I genuinely feel the same way when West Ham win after we beat every team. And I really struggle to answer that question. I get the point. And
we've heard that answer before. We've heard that before.
I genuinely feel that. Do you know the only time I've seen West Ham win and never felt a sense of joy? When we beat Swansea, was it the first season or second season in the new stadium? And Ayew scored the winner, and it was the weirdest atmosphere I've ever experienced. We won the game 1-0, and I left the stadium so deflated, and everyone around me was so deflated. It was like a really eerie moment. But yeah,
I mean, this is funny. So you got one person in the chat room saying Man United, another person saying Spuds. I mean, you know what? Those are usually the 2 of the 3 top answers. We have heard pretty much anyone we play. I mean, that we've heard that before. But Chelsea seems to pop up quite a bit. But obviously, number 1 answer is Spurs. Number 1.
Seeing modern times, genuinely, I mean this. See, because clubs like Man City have been bought and spend a lot of money. See, when we beat Man City, I was at a game at City away last year, or was it 2 years ago? It was last year, and we 2-1. We went up 1-0 or something. Was it 2 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
And we took them so close, and they got through the final hurdle. But yeah, they're kind of one as well.
Yeah, I mean, me personally, I United. I mean, I love beating them. Just because it just means a lot, because they're usually, ranked up there with one of the biggest clubs in the world, and we can't play Real Madrid, we can't play Barcelona, but when we can beat one of the other biggest clubs supposedly in the world, with the most fans, that means a lot to me. That just shows that we got it in us, we can do it. But
absolutely.
All right, the next question is name a player, past or present, that epitomizes West Ham to you.
Billy Bonds.
Right on. That seems to be the number 1 answer, believe it or not. Even more Bobby Moore, or we've heard Trevor Brooking quite a bit. We've heard Julian Dix. We've heard Paulo Di Canio. We've even heard Scott Parker. Even though in the short period of time he was with us, he was West Ham man.
I think you've got your, of course, Bobby Moore. But the thing about Billy Bonds is, I mean, I wasn't unfortunate not to see him play physically, but my dad did, and there was a point in my life growing up that we had a channel called Sky Sports Gold, so you'd see a lot of the old games. I used to sit with my dad and talk to me about it, and then you've got all these images of him wearing the what's it called, piece to cover the blood in his head, blood pouring out of his head. He just threw himself in front of the balls, didn't care, put his body on the line for the club. Loved the club, got the most appearances, chipped in the goals, assists.
Yeah,
he literally put his body on the line. And you see the stories, and I've got quite a lot of the old VHS tapes when he was in charge at West Ham and the players were in training, and Billy Bonds was fitter than fitter than most of them. And I don't know if you ever seen, but we actually had Frank McAvenny on our show.
Yes.
I actually went to physically meet him, and it was he told me a story about him and Julian Dix were out running. Billy Bonds was so annoyed at the two of them because they just didn't want to do it. But Frank McAvenny jumped on a milk float and skipped in the route. And Billy Bonds used to outrun everyone and pulled and they ran through the finish line, and Billy Bonds went, "Oh, that's great, guys, well done, well done." And then one of the coaches didn't come back. He came back really late, and Billy Bonds said, "Where are you?" He said, "McAvenny and Dixie haven't passed me yet." And he was like, "They were in about an hour ago getting changed, and didn't care." But McAvenny was telling me even off screen after when we met him, I had a couple of drinks with him, and he was just telling me that honestly, and like the guy was a machine. He would be in really early in the morning. He kept hearing this banging noise, and he's in there doing deadlifts, weights, and just a machine, an absolute machine. So it's only about time that West Ham honoured him.
Yeah. When we had Jack Collison on, he mentioned, and I've heard him say this in many other interviews as well, but when Zola was manager of the club, he was more fit than half the team, and he was probably the best player on the training pitch. Last question is, if you could take a time machine back to experience anything to do with West Ham, when and where would it be?
That's tough, man.
We like to wrap it up with the toughest one, but it's the best one. I love hearing these answers.
There's been five big days in our history. I'm trying to be a little bit different, I suppose, but probably, I don't know, but maybe the 1980 final, just because it's the closest one to us. Did you not to rewrite history, just to go back in time and
correct, to visit it? Yeah, revisit it.
Yeah, probably because it's the closest one to when I was born. I was born 3 years later, and I was just annoyed. At least I could have said I was alive when West Ham won the cup, but I can't even say that.
No, that's the number one answer, man. People have said the '66 World Cup just to see, Hurst and Moore and everybody just and also we've heard many different things, but me personally, because I started diehard following the club in our halfway through the relegation season, so my first real big match was the cup final, the playoff final against Blackpool, and just the atmosphere at Wembley, just watching it on this tiny little box on my computer, because there was this stream from some Arabian country, and with all these different ads and stuff like that. So all I could see was like this much, and I'm telling you that I've never felt so much joy than the end of that match, and then watching the proceedings after the match, seeing how passionate everybody was and how happy everybody was. I mean, I wish I could have been one of those 90,000 people there at that stadium that day.
I tell you what, Tim, even like the build up to that game, I remember going to King's Cross. West Ham took over London that day. That's when you really realise that how far West Ham travels, because even like the last game at Upton Park, like people just came, even if you didn't have a ticket, people were there, or if they weren't there, they were watching on TV, they were having West Ham parties. It's just everywhere. It's just rife everywhere. Yeah.
Well, gotta say thank you to Chris for hopping on with me tonight. Or this afternoon. I really appreciate it. I wasn't there to interview him the other night, but thanks so much, Chris, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Anton, it's been real. It's been a pleasure. I hope to do more stuff with you and the other guys of Irons United in the future. And if there's anybody else that we haven't had on, I know there's a good handful of you guys that we have not had on our show yet. We'd love to get their interviews as well. To see get their backgrounds and expose them to the American fan base. So
cool. Thank you. Thanks for having me on, guys. Before we go though, can I just ask the two of you to do your best Cockney accent, please?
Oh fuck no.
Come on.
No. I can't, man.
No.
I can listen, because I can only come up with some swears, and my kids are in the next room, but no. I don't want to. Oh, come on, man.
Come on, I can't. You've got to do it now. It's live. I'll put you well under pressure. I'll start it off by going, what should I say? All right, Governor, how you doing, mate?
Oh, God, I can't. No, I'm horrible.
If I do it, it sounds like. See, every time it doesn't not the first time someone's asked me to do this. But on air it is. But every time I try to do it, I end up sounding Scottish. And,
Let's hear it. Let's
you know
hear
what I mean, man? And I'm like, no, man.
I
No, man.
it.
I don't know.
it.
I keep doing a Nick Tucker, but it sounds like a Scottish Nick Tucker from Crosshammers. But you know what I mean? No, man. Yeah.
That's decent. That's
That was
decent.
actually pretty good.
Chris, you want to do it before we go? All right. Well, that's a great way to end it. But anyway, I'll talk to you guys off the air real quick. But thank you, everybody in the chat room. I know there was tons of people in there. I met both legs, Ben Davis, Dom Daly, Petty Lawless, Lucas, and so on, and Forever Blowing Bubbles, Tebow. We're dying to get you on the show. We got to figure that out. And like Gaz and Selly and the whole 9 yards. Listen, thank you, everybody, for popping in tonight. I really appreciate it. And our next show is going to be Tuesday with our Fantasy Premier League show. And then Wednesday and Thursday, we have interviews. I don't know off the top of my head who we have. I just know that we're definitely booked out. So and if you guys, anybody who's interested in joining the show, doesn't matter where in the world you are, if you're a West Ham supporter, we'd love to get you on the show to interview you and just talk West Ham. It'll be fun as we have some openings in the next couple months. Also, please buy a scarf. We need to sell just a few more before we place the order through Roughneck to get our order done and get them out to everybody. So let's just go to our website, AmericanHammersTV.us. Also, we got T-shirts for sale, which is in the description below. Now, with the T-shirts, 20% gets split up between two of our favorite charities. So please, go for it. But anyway, thanks everybody. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.